Right, so today's lesson was about possessive adjectives, and one of the things that we talked about was what exactly is a possessive adjective. So adjectives are things that describe nouns. Colors, like pink, pink blouse, the color of the shirt is pink, it describes it. Possessive is talking about ownership. So a possessive adjective is something that a word, a pronoun in this case, that describes a noun, but it also shows ownership. So what we ultimately do, and I'm going to fill out this column, the English translation meaning column first, and then we'll go back and fill in all this. But in English, your possessive adjectives are my, your, if it is singular and informal, his or her, or its, or, one's, our, your, if it is singular and formal, and y'all's, and then you have their. So this would be, that should be a different color. Let me fix that. Let's make that one black. Okay, so the thing with these, it would be my mother, your sister, his brother, her brother, our family. If you want to describe who people are, because that's what we're ultimately going to be doing. Let me see if I can get all this to fit a little better too while we're talking. You need to know how to say these words. So if you look here, there are going to be 3 different ways to say my and your and his and her and all of this stuff, because of the fact that French works on the masculine and feminine versus singular and plural kind of platform, if you will. So we're filling all this in, and then I'll give you some examples and go back and kind of explain what it all means. But in order to say my, there are 3 ways, and it is mon, ma, or may. That's how you pronounce them. The next line for your is ton, ta, te, and then you have son, sa, say. So there's a pattern for these 3. They all look similar to each other. You just change the first letter of each one all the way across. So you have mon, ma, may, ton, ta, te, son, sa, and say. All of these mean my. All of these mean your. And then all of these mean his, but they also mean her, or its, or one's. So if I said his brother, and then I turned around and said her brother, when you write it out, it looks exactly the same. There's no difference between his brother and her brother. It all has to do with the context clues of whatever conversation you're having or what you're reading. Once you get here, it changes a little bit, and you have notre, notre, and no. Then you have votre, votre, vo. And my favorite is leur, leur. The last 3 are easier because there's only 2 forms. You only have a singular and then a plural. You don't have a difference between masculine singular or feminine singular. So that helps a lot when you're studying and needing to know what things are. So how these work, I'm going to zoom out just, oops, I'm not going to zoom out. I'll just come down here. All right, so if you want to say my mother, okay, so you know you're going to have the word my, and you know you're going to have the word mother. We're going to start, when we do this, kind of backwards. We're going to do it out of order so that you can see the process, because it does get a little tricky depending on what you're talking about. Okay, so my mother. First, you have to find the word mother from your vocab sheet, which is la, and then mère. All right, but that doesn't say my mother. It says the mother. So what you do is you're going to replace this la with something from this chart. So you know, I'm going to scroll up just a little bit. If you need to say my, it's going to be one of these 3. So the way you figure out which one to use is by looking at this. This means that you have a feminine singular word. So you look at your feminine singular column, which means to say my mother, you're going to say ma mère. Okay? If you want to say, I'm going to come over this way a little bit, our cousins that are male. So male cousins, more than one, would be les, because you have to make it plural, cousins. This is going to get replaced, so you figure out, so, okay, I'm going to use either notre, or no, because that's what our means. It is plural, so I'm going to use N-O-S. Okay? It does get a little tricky, though, when you start saying things like his wife, right? What you have to remember is to start with the word wife. Even though it says his wife, the word his has to be feminine because the word wife is feminine. So femme means wife or woman. It has la in front of it. So my blue line means his, and I find the feminine singular form, so it is sa instead of S-O-N. You are looking at the gender of whatever noun you actually are describing to figure out which one of these, colored words, which one of these possessive adjectives actually goes in the blank there. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to email me or ask me in class.